Hey everyone, welcome back from spring break. It's March 29th. That means we are on the home stretch. Think about this. We are about 2 months and a week and a half away from the end of this crazy year and hopefully the end of the pandemic. That's our hope. And the governor spoke last night and had some really positive things to say about getting back to normal. Anyway, here's the dealio. We're going to do a couple things today. The first one is I'm going to have you kind of, first things first. We got the World Gods final, people. So you got to vote today. All right. Final round. We are up to our final pairing, which is number one seed in the East region is Zeus. He's the Greek god of thunder in the sky, king of the gods, or at least of the Greek gods. Possessed Thunderbolt as his main weapon, going against the number two seed in the West region, which is Wakantanka. And this is a Lakota god of creation, supreme being possessed of vast magic and the ability to create life. So here's our matchup. So you're down to the final two. And again, this one right here, this one I really want you to spend some time on is which god did you pick and why? Again, language arts, sure, it's about fun stuff like reading and stories, but we also have to have explanations. That's a really important piece. And even something fun like this is really important to add to our mix. So anyway, Wakantanka versus Zeus. So that's priority number one today is to do the World Gods final. Okay, number two, I'm going to send you to Quill. All right. Now, this is going to be a little confusing, but we're going to try to do it. And what Quill is it's a sort of an assessment tool. So what I want you to do is I have all the information you need. So if you go to our class, actually, let me get to the right class. Right here, when we go to our class, I have a link that will literally tell you what you need to do. It's essentially a sign up, and it's very, very simple. And what you're going to do is sort of spend about a half an hour doing an assessment, and it won't take very long. This is how you do it. So you work on quill.com. Essentially, you just click on that little link, and that will take you to all the login information you need. It's really not crazy hard, right? So here's your name. Here's your username. It's magnet-pin. So all of you have an account, and notice it's really not complicated. It's your last name is your password. And if you're like, Mr. Slaby, I still don't understand, then you scroll down and notice this tells you what to do. Literally, that's it. All right. And I have one assessment for you today, and it is really pretty simple. It's just sort of foundational stuff. All right. So it's like 20 some questions, and I want you to spend some time doing it. We'll do it in class. All right. It gets your brain warmed up for language. It's also just information that will help me see where you're at. So that's your first task for today. Okay. So at this point in the video, you'd probably stop and you'd be like, okay, I'm going to go do that. Okay. That's about a half an hour. The other thing we're going to do then is after we're all done with Quill, again, there's our magnet dash pin. So it's like your name. After you take this assessment, which again, no harm, no foul, then we're going to move on over to text structures versus text features. So at this point, here's what I would do. I'd stop the video and I'd go take that Quill stuff and be done with that for the day. Okay, stop. Okay, now that you've started again, this is what we're doing next. So you're going to open up your reader's notebook, and you're going to open to your section, right, where you have mini lessons, and you're going to take some more notes today. That's the rest of the day, okay? So here's the thing. Your text, sorry, one last thing. When you're done with your assessment today, I want you to screenshot your Quill assessment, and that's your assignment for today. I just want to see the last screen of your assessment that tells me that you did it. So basically, you're getting a point for today just by taking care of that assessment. That's it. right? That's all you have to do today, but you got to do it. All right, so back to the text structures. So here's the thing about text structures is that we've been talking about text structures, right? And they are different from what are called text features, okay? So you think about this, is that a text structure is how I want to frame the information, how I want to pass it on to someone else. So should I describe a bunch of details that explain the topic, right? Should I present a timeline sequence of the information? Should I compare and contrast the topic? Should I show how the topic caused change in the world? Or should I show the problem the topic then solved? These are all the text structures, remember? Description, sequential, compare contrast, cause and effect, problem solution. Those are how I want to give the information to my reader. Now we're going to talk about features. These are a little bit more concrete. A feature is how I want to display that information. So if I choose timeline sequential, if I choose a sequential thing, then the sequential work might look best literally on a timeline. All right, that's a feature. It might look best on a graph. That's a feature. So how do things get displayed? So here's the sort of the list of things we can choose from, right? I could use a map or a diagram or a sidebar explanation, like a little pop-up. I could use a graph or a table of contents. Do I want to list all the things that my story is going to, or my paper or my book or my information is going to present? Do I want to have photos or captions? Do I want to have key vocabulary, words in bold or italic font? And should I use headings or bullet points, right? These are all features. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some text features, and I want you to kind of sort of write them down because you're going to work through a document, and it's right here. I've given you this document, all right? It's right here. Download this text features note sheet, or it's right there, all right? So you're going to take and download this bad boy into Notability, all right? Notice it's got all the examples. Today, we're only going to work on 3. So essentially, your notes at this point, I was kind of wrong. You're actually not going to use this. You're going to use this in Notability. If you want to use this, then great, I suppose. That's awesome. But I've also made this pretty easy for you to do today. All right, so continuing on. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you the example. I'm going to explain it to you. And then what I want you to do is right here in the box, that's pretty much the purpose. That goes into this box. And there's the example I've already given you. All right. So let's do our first one. Text feature number 1 is the title. Pretty basic. So what I want you to take notes on is right here. This part goes in that part. Okay, I'll come back to that again. So the text feature of title really is important. It's the first idea your reader has of your work. And its purpose is to identify the topic of the text, and it tells what the text will be about. Now, it also has to do a couple other things. So let me give you an example of a couple of non-fiction texts. Blind Man's Bluff, The Untold Story of American Submarine Espionage. This is one of my favorite books that got me into nonfiction. It's a book about Cold War submarine warfare. Now, notice the title tells me that. Blind Man's Bluff doesn't, but Untold Story of American Submarine Espionage. I know what espionage means, spy. So submarine spy work. Untold Story means no one knew it before. So this title tells me a lot about what this book is about. It's a great book. Here's another one, A Brief History of Time. Now, this is a little bit harder to understand. It's a book about black holes in the universe, but it still is like a brief history of time. Time is tied into the universe. And then here's the last one, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, another amazing book. This is a book about a U.S. government versus Native American conflict, and Wounded Knee is the name of that conflict. I have to know a little bit about history to know that's what Wounded Knee is, and Bury My Heart sort of relates to death. So some of these titles aren't so clear. Some of them are, because a title should also make someone interested. So again, in your notes, here's what you should have. If you want to pause the video here to do this, that's great, but this is what you should write. Identifies the topic of the text, tells what the text will be about, and I added my own note, could create some curiosity. Okay, that's not part of the notes, but you can always add a little bit more, and that will help you remember. All right, just so you have an idea why titles matter, here's some books that aren't very good. How to Avoid Huge Ships. That seemed like that would be pretty easy. Here's another one. Why Cats Paint. I didn't know cats painted. Do you know any cats that paint? I mean, maybe this cat is painting. I don't know. Everything I Want to Do is Illegal. Probably don't need this book. And here's one more. Anybody can be cool, but awesome takes practice. That is pretty dumb. These are very clear titles. They're just subjects that no one really needs to know. Yeah, there you go. The title is very clear. All right, text feature number 2. So this would be the second thing. This is your title page. Now this tells the book's title, author, illustrator, and publisher. But it's about this. Connects the reader to more information about the contributors or the experts who are helping make this work. So for instance, these are all names of people I've read. Stephen Hawking. If I see his name in a title page, I'm going to pick up the book because he's a scientist, like the scientist, like one of the smartest people ever. Then we have Sebastian Junger. I've read enough of his stuff. He's an amazing reporter. If I see his name attached to anything, I'm going to read it. Tommy Orange is a Native American author. If I see his name or like a connected to like a contributing author, Tommy Orange, boom, I'm going to read that book. Lisa Ling is another very, very top-notch reporter. Soledad O'Brien, another hugely talented reporter. Doris Kearns Goodwin, she's a big-time researcher. Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's an activist. I'm going to read anything that his name is attached to. And Jim Lee is a comic book illustrator. If he's done anything, if he's illustrated anything, I'm going to pick it up because his name is tied to excellence. So the thing about a title page is it helps sort of legitimize what it is you're presenting. If you have names associated with it, like if you have a teacher, let's say you create a book and you're like, with a forward introduction by Mr. Welter, I'm probably going to read that because in my school, he's a name that goes with quality work. All right, that's text feature number 2. So this goes in your right there, title page. Okay. All right, last one for the day is the table of contents. This is our last one for the day. Now, it tells the names of chapters and what pages the chapters can be found. Okay, that's the purpose, right? But let's really talk about what does it do. It gives an overview for the reader what subtopics, so like sort of categories under the category, that might be there to help further the reader know if this is the right book for them. So I will often look at the table of contents before I actually check out a research book because I want to know if it has a chapter on what I'm looking for. So sometimes I can just look right there and not try to skim the whole book. So for instance, this is a book right here, Brief History of Time, right? This is Stephen Hawking right there. If I pick up this book, I'm going to page in the contents. Okay, I'm going to look at the table of contents. And if I don't see a chapter on black holes, I'm not picking up the book because that's what I'm looking for. And if he doesn't have a chapter on that, I'm not going to pick this book up. I'm going to set it aside and maybe not even look at it. So that's why a table of contents matters, is it helps the reader figure out, A, do I want to read this? And B, maybe I only need to read one chapter that I really want to read. That's okay. All right, there we go. End of today. So goals for today, first off, finish that World Gods vote. Actually, I don't know why I have an apostrophe there. I want you to finish that quill assessment and then submit the photo of your final screen. Take a screenshot and then take notes on text structures 1 through 3. All right, everyone? Cool. All right. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.